Well, then after that was when the raid came and the production stopped. So they laid off all the sheet metal workers. They laid off 63 sheet metal workers. I was one of the ones who got laid off. They only kept like 6 or 7 of them just for repairs and whatnot. Well, when I got laid off as sheet metal, I was qualified, I could go to the labs. So I was a lab tech for a year. And that kind of opened my eyes. I got to see another step of what happened in the labs. I worked in the labs for a year, and then a job for radiation monitors came up. But you had to have physics, and I didn't have physics. So I went to the community college and I took physics, and I passed the physics. And I liked physics, so I passed it. And so I became a radiation monitor, and I had to go to school for that. You had to pass a lot of different tests and whatnot. Well, book learning I can do. It's a snap for me. So I did that, and the last 10 years I was at Rocky Flats, I was a radiation monitor. Well, when I was going to school, I found out the biological effects of radiation exposure. And it scared the pee-waddle right out of me. I thought nobody ever told me this, and I've been out here for 15 years. I never knew this happened. So I started looking into it a little more, and after I was there 15 years, I got breast cancer. Well, I went in, I had what they call radical mastectomy, which is amputation of your breast. I was off about 6 months because I had to have chemotherapy, and after that was over, I went back to work. I went back to work. I was still sick from the chemo and all, but I went back to work anyway. And being a radiation monitor, you have to have, you have to be recertified, and you have to take an oral board where they present a scenario of a accident or something, or a spill or whatever, and you have to show on a blackboard, and you have to tell exactly the procedure you go through when there's a spill or an accident and all this stuff. You have not only a written test, but you have an oral test that you have to pass to stay in your position as a radiation monitor. Well, I managed to do all that, but I still had reservations in my mind. And when we started going through the decommissioning and decontamination and decommissioning of the plant, as a radiation monitor, I had to go in every building on that plant. I had to, part of my job was to make sure people's hands weren't contaminated, that areas weren't contaminated. We had to take surveys. That was just all part of our job. And during that time, I learned what to do and what not to do. You know, you can't hang around a place 20 years and not pick up a lot of stuff. When to wear your respirator, how to put it on and take it off, the equipment that we wore, the protective gear we had, also the equipment that we used. The Geiger counters, they're called Geiger counters. We called them we had we had different ones to do different things. But we had to learn all these instruments, how to calibrate these instruments, how to do a performance test on these instruments every day, the parameters, all this stuff. We had to learn it all, which still, you know, it was complicated in a way, but in another way it was simple. Once you learned it, it was rote. You do this step, this step, this step, and, you know, as in any job that you do every day, pretty soon that mundane thing is just rote. So after a while, I'm not saying I did, but I'm saying some people took a lot of shortcuts. They didn't do all the proper procedures that they needed to do with their instrumentations. When taking surveys and things like that to see if things were contaminated, there were shortcuts a lot of people took. And towards the end of the decommissioning of Rocky Flats, the standards, safety standards I'm talking about, were lowered very much, very much.
Would that have been?
That would be, I would say, 2000, 2001 to 2005. Okay. They raised a lot of the things, like there could be a lot more contamination in the rooms while we were decommissioning than before.
Decommissioning, you really wasn't cleaning anything up, you were just...
We were consolidating, it's really... Okay. It's hard to describe how they would go in a room and dismantle that room and put things in crates and in barrels and ship it off plant site.
Where did that go, Lynn? When you say shipped off, where did it
Some of it went to the WHIP facility in New Mexico. Some of the low levels went to, everywhere. Some of it was moved by train, some of the low level.
What would be the destination of that?
Oh, it went all over the place, to wherever they wanted. They sold a lot of it was just auctioned off.
And some of it just stayed out there and went to the bottom of the building?
Well, most of the equipment that they couldn't get clean enough was just dismantled, sawed up, and put in crates and moved out, moved off the plant site. We had stuff went everywhere. I can't even remember now where all it went. But
to go back a little bit, you said that whenever the raid happened, a bunch of the sheet metal workers were laid off. But yet we doubled the workforce, nearly about 50%. What did the new people do?
Well, I know they hired a lot of electricians. They hired D&D workers. That was just people to come in and dismantle and be like waste workers.